You know, in the halls of power, we usually just assume the loudest voices are the ones holding all the cards, right? Well, today we are diving into an explainer of some seriously fascinating source material that flips that whole idea on its head. We're unpacking the hidden mechanisms behind Melania Trump's public persona. The theory here, while the world is hyper-focused on the daily headlines, she is actually playing a meticulously calculated game of legal chess.
For years, the media has basically painted her as this reluctant figure just hovering in the background of a super chaotic political dynasty. We're kind of conditioned to see silence as hesitation or just straight-up absence. But our source material asks us to consider a massive paradigm shift. What if this silence isn't hesitation at all? What if instead it's actually a carefully constructed shield, protecting a much larger, unseen strategy? The text characterizes her approach as a literal masterclass in tactical survival. I mean, imagine living in this absolute whirlwind where every single word you say is scrutinized. Because of that, her actions move with this surgical precision. It's almost like a cinematic thriller. The key takeaway here is that this isn't about hiding. Not at all. It's about preparation. It's about building a structural, legal defense so robust that it basically becomes an impenetrable fortress against all that public and legal storm.
So, let's look at how you actually go about building a legal fortress, starting with the paper trail.
If you look past all the political noise, her legal DNA becomes really clear. Take a look at this timeline. Back in 2017, she sued the Daily Mail, and get this, not just for defamation, but specifically for the loss of economic opportunity. She was protecting her commercial brand, exactly like a private corporation would. Then fast forward to 2018 through 2021, and we see these incredibly strict non-disclosure agreements rolling out in the East Wing. And now, in the present day, there are widespread reports of her renegotiating her prenuptial agreements multiple times. We're not looking at a standard politician here. We are looking at a private entity systematically locking down a global brand.
All this systematic planning leads us to a concept that legal analysts call tactical distancing. To put that into perspective, think of the Trump organization as this massive fleet of ships navigating some incredibly stormy, litigation-heavy waters. Tactical distancing is essentially what separates her personal ship from that much larger fleet. If the main fleet hits a legal iceberg, well, her ship is already unhooked, legally completely independent, and just sailing on to safety. It's really a brilliant maneuver, maintaining that public loyalty while completely securing her own private independence.
Now, to pull off that kind of distance, you absolutely need the right team behind you. While her husband's political orbit is famous for featuring these firebrand lawyers who actively seek out the TV cameras and courtroom theatrics, reports indicate Melania goes a totally different route. She uses what the text calls shadow players. These are quiet, highly specialized experts in privacy law, NDAs, and international asset protection. They literally don't want their names in the headlines. Their entire job is to make sure that when the dust finally settles, her privacy and influence are completely untouched.
And how do these stealthy shadow players actually operate? Well, with an absolute zero-tolerance policy for leaks, she aggressively enforces this wall of confidentiality. We actually saw this play out when former associates like Stephanie Winston Wolkoff spoke out. Melania doesn't just put out a little PR statement, no. She uses the full crushing weight of the legal system. She clearly understands that while headlines fade, a well-drafted contract is forever. This tight environment guarantees her true strategy stays entirely hidden until she decides it's time to make a move.
But even the best legal walls face threats. Let's talk about managing the inner circle, dealing specifically with the wildcards and chaos agents.
What we're looking at here is a fundamental collision of styles. On one side, you have Melania's methodical, insulated approach. She's the ultimate protector of the brand. Order, privacy, NDAs. Then on the other side, you've got external firebrands. The analysis specifically points to figures like Laura Loomer, whose noisy, chaotic tactics prioritize basically burning things down just to win the daily news cycle. If you've spent decades building up legal firewalls, this unpredictable loose cannon energy is a massive threat. I mean, in a court of law, all it takes is one unauthorized photo or one stray quote from a chaos agent, and boom, it's Exhibit A for a prosecutor.
So how do you handle that internal friction? The source details this really fascinating Cold War style of pressure. She doesn't go online and post some viral rant. Instead, she creates what's described as a sanitary cord, right around the family. By exerting pressure quietly behind the scenes to limit access to that inner circle, she becomes the ultimate gatekeeper. She's weeding out the liabilities, silencing the noise, and making absolutely sure that stray comments from these wildcards don't accidentally blow up the incredibly tight legal narrative she and her shadow players built.
Which brings us to the final end game, and ultimately, the power to choose. This idea of an endgame completely reframes things we've been watching publicly for years. Think about the Be Best initiative, her philanthropic work, her individual assets. On the surface, sure, it just looks like your standard First Lady activity. But the text argues that maintaining these specific pillars actually provides hard legal evidence of her independent standing. If a court ever tries to paint the Trump Organization as just one massive monolithic entity, these projects are the proof that she is a distinct legal person with completely distinct interests. She is making sure she absolutely cannot be forced into a corner.
The ultimate verdict for her is autonomy, and she achieves that through selective presence. By being rare, she stays valuable. By being quiet, she remains powerful. While the media is constantly spinning their wheels, speculating about where she is or what she's doing, she uses that selective presence to be this stable, elite anchor, completely insulated from the harshest legal battles going on around her. So her final move isn't some grand sweeping speech. It's the power to walk away, or stay, entirely on her own terms. She holds the only key to the fortress she built.
As we wrap up this explainer, the source leaves us with a genuinely provocative thought to ponder. In an era where literally everyone is shouting for attention, where these scorched earth politics dominate every single news cycle, is holding back and remaining silent actually the ultimate weapon? It's a fascinating look into the mechanics of international politics and legal strategy. So what do you think? Does this meticulously calculated silence make her the most powerful player on the board? Something to think about. Keep questioning the noise, and we'll catch you next time.